Alrighty. How y'all doing? This is TTC, aka ThunderConductor, and I have a really dope. I have a really dope guest for you all today. As you all know, I am working on the Marneus brew, Marneus Calgar. He's a really dope commander, and so I wanted to bring on one of the top performing Marneus pilots, CallMeBean. Awesome dude, and I'm just gonna get his riders into it. I'm gonna open up the Discord and just let him come on in. You there, my guy?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. This right here is CallMeBean. What? You introduce yourself, brother. Introduce yourself.
On Discord and all of my different gaming apparatus, I go by CallMeBean.
Yes, sir. Cool.
My name is Andre. I'm a Magic player. I'm currently in Philly, lifelong Magic fan.
Yes, I love that. Well, what's going on right now we're about to talk about his Marneus list, but before we did, he was bringing up a really awesome discussion when it comes to the current meta when it comes to politicking, and I just wanted to start in the deep end. You know what I'm saying? We can start in the deep end. You were saying some good things, so I wanted to hear your opinion on politicking and currently in the meta, because I'm a politicker and I'm gonna be the devil's advocate, but I wanted to hear your stance on politicking in the current meta. Talk to me, brother.
So I for my day job, I'm an attorney by practice and by trade. That is, I argue for a living. It's what I do, and I've noticed in cEDH specifically, there is a lot of the players, there is a dearth or lack of understanding about negotiation tactics, and what's happening. Like they're not formally trained in negotiation, and so they don't understand what's happening, or they're not aware of the subtle things that other people who are trained in those or who have those soft skills are doing. Yeah. I remember one of I went to a CLE, which is like a learning education class once, and I listened to this, like the number one jury trial attorney, and he was saying the second he walks in the room with the jury, he is on. Like, it's not just when he gets up to make opening statements. Everything that he does, the way that he sets up his binder, the way he leans over and talks to his assistant, everything that he does, he is on. And I feel like cEDH players would benefit by understanding that their opponents, everything that they are doing, or skilled good ones, everything that they're doing is part of the cell of whatever strategy they're trying to employ.
Okay. I'm enjoying the backstory. Okay. That's very true. I resonate with that a lot, because I feel like there is malicious and there's different intents that come with the cell. You know, like I have experience with guys who will be popping jokes, especially in the tournament scene, where people be popping jokes and doing other things, really trying to get you kind of soften up the table. And then the minutes, like we get in the minute of gameplay, and they be like, the minute they'll be like, oh no, they passed priority. I'm talking about bone cut dry, like all the jokes and everything lies. And you're just like, dang, I thought we were friends. Like, nah, bro. Like, we competing, brother. You know what I'm saying? All that friendly shit is out the window. It's all it's all cute until the money's on the line or whatever not. You know what I'm saying? But I will say there also is intent people who just, and this is my you were bringing up some really good points earlier. But one thing I will say, as a politicker myself, I do like to use my tongue. My perspective of politicking is communication, which is important. A lot of times especially when you run a fringe deck, as you all know, I run my majority Reunion Fire Dancer. I run a lot of interaction in my deck, but our stack interaction is limited. Most of it is permanent base, as you're aware, like Pyrokinesis, Thunderclap, Tarfire, Lightning Bolt, other things along that, to remove key pieces to slow people's advantage engines down. And so a lot of times my politicking is making clear, like, look, whether you see me or anybody else as a threat, I need you to use your interaction at the best time. I don't need you to try to don't force the negation a Ruby medallion, or don't pop something preemptively, because we use it when people are trying to win. Like these value plays that people are doing. Yes, I'll give an example. Marneus, if y'all have never seen a Marneus Calgar and a smothering Tavo board, that's a value play you want to stop. Okay, Humble Defector, Reunion Fire Dancer, Storm count of like 2 or 3, drawing 6 to 8 cards in one turn. Stop that. But be aware of what is a threat with a value play versus when it's actually like a problem. Because if I'm a mono red player and I know I can't interact with a Thassa's Consultation because I don't have Tabal's Trickery or Red Elemental Blast, I try to implore people, use your interaction better, use it at the appropriate times, which is most times at game-winning points or critical spells that can really stop people to win. You know, even Ristic Study is one of those cards where you want to think about it before you counter. Big thing is you can have turn 1 Ristics, counter it on go. Turn 4, turn 5 Ristic, if people have mana, let it be a stacks piece. Like I've seen tables where people will sit there and just pay for the Ristic Study, and the Ristic player is not doing shit, and they're still seen as a threat, even though they're not drawing any cards. But at the end of the day, it's a great stacks piece in that mid to late game, depending on the table. A lot of times, people will just pay it if they're not doing shit. But like, I do want to hear you talk a little bit more when it comes to your opinion to politicking and other things, and especially when it comes to navigating with Marneus Calgar even more.
So I've noticed in cEDH there are a discrepancy in our current meta where we are at in the like the cycle of tournament play, TEDH or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
There is discrepancy in skill cap and skill levels, and so that is, and other people I think skilled players realize and recognize too, and they leverage that by using that gap to their advantage, and to make like the part where it feels a little icky is that a lot of the time that happens because they've convinced a player who doesn't have the same command of the game to take an action or do something that is not in their best interest.
Yeah, I hear that.
And so I when I first started playing cEDH, I was playing a proactive deck. I remember in 2019 I was playing Narset, taking extra turns. Right, like I don't care. I don't really care what other people are doing. I'm just trying to cast Narset to attack with it. Right, like that was when 2019 when I first started playing cEDH. I left cEDH for a while. When I came back in, I was looking around at all the different lists, and I was looking at a blue farm list I was wanting to play. And then as I'm taking the reps and getting the reps, I realized like I don't have the social skills to navigate that deck well, because part of what makes that deck so effective is the pilot needs to either minimize their threat level, be benign, like, oh, it's no big deal that like I have 10,000 value engines in the deck and I'm drawing a bunch of cards. This other guy's he's the much bigger threat.
Yeah.
And so for people who have poor evaluation techniques, that like blue farm is really good and it's a proactive deck.
Dude.
And I realized it's not for me. Marneus is a reactive deck, right? Like I have these cards here. I had them laid out.
Please name them off.
I got Angel's Grace.
Yeah, I can pull them up on this.
I got Angel's Grace, Trickbind, and Marneus, right? Like I don't leave home without no cards, like at all.
Got you. I see.
If I'm playing it, I don't leave home without Trickbind, Angel's Grace, and it is, I part of the art. So this is very important for your listeners and people who play cEDH to hear. Every single deck should have a thesis. It should have a game plan. It should have this is what the deck does and what axis it attacks on or how it operates. Think Gitrog. Everybody know Gitrog is trying to dredge, right? Like that's Gitrog's thesis. It's get my commander on the board and then start dredging and win at instant speed. That's the thesis.
Yeah.
Marneus, right? His thesis is I need the game to go long, and I will outvalue my opponents. If the game and my win will be inevitable. That's the thesis behind Marneus.
Okay, yes.
That's my thesis with playing the deck.
Okay.
I don't run Thassa's Oracle. I don't run Demonic Consultation because it doesn't fit into my thesis.
Understood.
Yeah. And so I like this commander because it allows me to, from a position of understanding where our current meta is, and my playstyle and my skill set, to perform well, because I'm not going to be able to convince, or I don't want to, or I have no interest in convincing other players to do things for my advantage and to their detriment. Instead, I'm just going to be reactive. I'm going to generate value engines. I'm going to play Magic.
Right. Got you. I hear you. And so I'm very much seeing that, like those reactive pieces I'm seeing here, of course. Everything.
So Deep Gnome Terramancer is a great example of a card that I think is reactive.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about this one. Yeah. Talk to me about this one.
It's a ramp spell, right? Like people, all these 4 color greedy decks play, 7, 8, 9 fetches,
Mm-hmm.
right? Deep Gnome Terramancer ramps me a mana, so I
Got you.
will flash it in by being reactive when it crack a fletch, and then it is cheap, right? It's 2 mana. It's not a high. It doesn't. It's not an expensive card for me to cast. But then the upside is now Marneus has slowly ramped 1 card. No big deal. Just
Mm-hmm.
1 land, right? Like it's not a big
Right,
deal.
right,
And
right.
then that concept continues. Well, I'll get those incremental advantages, and I have 3 opponents, right? So if I get 2 lands off of this card, I ramp 2, +2 on my opponents, and the likelihood of that happening is high.
Got you, got you, got you. And I'm also seeing, of course, you're drawing a lot of the good old Esper draw engines. We got Archivist of Ogma, we got Esper Sentinel, Dorothy Voidwalker, Great Graveyard Hate, and also allows you to get that free spell off the crack. And we, of course, have some token generators. Token generals. We'll talk about that in a sec. Seeing here, Consecrated Sphinx. Tell me about that. Like it's a big heavy spell at 6, but of course we're all. If anyone's seen a Consecrated Sphinx land, that is one that it definitely just it can shake the
That's
entire table.
that's the newest addition. If you that is the newest addition to the list. I've found myself in a lot of times not having a large threat, like generating a small value, but not having something that I'm like, okay, showstopper, so to speak, or like
Mm.
a piece that like I felt like I needed. Consecrated things will, I think, in a couple turns close out a game. I'll draw enough cards where I can string together a win, and I'm testing it out. It's new. I wanted, I wanted to see how it's doing. I have some new spice in here that is not even on this list yet that I'm testing out currently.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Concentrated Sphinx it's on the chopping block. It's not a staple or a
Yeah.
mainstay of the deck. It's one of those spots that I'm testing.
Yeah. Yeah. When I originally saw it, I didn't think it was a bad card. I was just unsure of its if the mana commitment, like we think about it in Kennen, it's a very good card in Kennen because you can hit it off a hit. Even though you're paying 7 mana for a 6 mana spell, it's very surprising and or alarming. Very seldomly are you is a non-Kennen deck who at times can have 14 plus mana on board, just natural from rocks and whatever not, casting the Consecrated, because a lot of times you're not able to hold Consecrated Sphinx up and mana up to be able to hold up multiple interaction spells to still be able to stay in the game. So that's what the only part like that I was wondering about it. But at the same time, it's Consecrated Sphinx. You know what I'm saying?
It is, and if they don't deal with it, if they don't get rid of it, I'm gonna win. It's gonna
100%.
it
100%.
it must be dealt with, and it is. I don't see that it's a questionable card. I do realize it's questionable,
Yeah.
and I'm just testing it out. I know
Yeah.
I needed. The deck was missing. Like it felt there were moments or in games where I would have a lot of resources, but I didn't have a way to close out the game very quickly. And I think if I had a lot of resources and I cast Consecrated Things, I can close out the game quickly.
Got you. So it's definitely so you're feeling that it's not something. Oh, I see a consecrated sphinx, a mana vault, and all these other like ramp spells. Let's try to charge this out as fast as possible. No, it's all right. We're in turn 4 to 6. I've done a very good job reacting to the table either with stacks pieces or control pieces, and then let me put the nail in the coffin and set myself up for a next turn win where it's just inevitable where I'm going to win at this point because I can either protect this consecrated sphinx or bait out interaction to make people use up their spells before I try to go for the win the next turn. Did I kind of receive that correctly?
Absolutely, and again, there's a Lothal, right, to give me a treasure too here.
Yeah.
There is the Smothering Tithe. There is
Mm-hmm.
the tax, the monologue tax.
Oh, love
There's
monologue
actually
tags, bro. Slept on card, bro. Slept on card.
right. I also use Ashnod's Altar aggressively. I don't use it just like as a combo piece to win. There are
Hmm.
turns or times where I'll sack a lower small, a smaller, 2 smaller creatures, and then spend 2 blue and put a Consecrated Sphinx on the stack. Like that happens.
Really? Okay. Okay. Now we're talking. Because if you all aren't aware, Marneus combos with Ashnod's Altar. There's a lot of combos that work it. If I'm correct, there. Let's see. Of course, you got the little more niche ones. You got this Scrubble Tide. You got MF and let's see. There's a lot. Well, at least in your deck specifically, you have Training Grounds combos with Ashnod Altar, and what else combos with it? It's that
Mondrak, the 4-mana
Mondrak.
creature.
Yeah, Mondrak Glory Dominus. This also combos with it. And that was actually something I would love to talk to you about as well. One thing I was really wondering with this build is, like I said, I come from Reunion. So I come from a very commander-centric deck. I run the Godo line in my Reunion deck because I know what it's like when people think they figured out that your deck needs your commander to function. That's also one of the things I love about Marneus, because you run so many great advantage engines, and just your 99 can be so powerful if you want it to. You don't even, I've had games where I can win without even casting my fucking commander. Now, with adding in the Marneus and the training ground lines with your Astronaut's Altar, it is pushing you a little more to lean on the commander, even though you're not doing the Thassa's combo. But talk to me about that. Like, how has your experience been with Mondrak as an individual card in the 99 and even comboing with it?
Again, the impetus and the theory of my deck isn't to, I'm not trying, I think a lot of decks are like they're trying to piece together wins as fast as possible. I built the deck such that I am being reactive to what's happening on the table, and then my versatile spells have double, they also are combo pieces.
Gotcha.
So Mondrak, right? Mondrak, while he with Ashnod's Altar and my commander is a infinite mana token generator.
Yes.
It also is just a token doubler, right? And there's a lot of Lotho smothering types, monologue tax. Instead of one treasure, now I got 2, 3, 4 treasures, right? There are or the vampire, instead of making one, I'm making 2 vampires.
Yep.
Later on,
charismatic
when I cast
conqueror.
Ashnod's Altar, yeah, exactly. And then later, or the Bowmaster's one as well. But that's a little bit more niche, and the situation has to be easier. But
right.
Any event, anything in the deck that makes a token, Mondrak just doubles it. And there are a lot of token generators in the deck. Got
you. Yeah. Well, in that curve, talk to me about some of these token generators. I don't know if you have your list open, or you could, as you list, might come pull them up. Talk to me, man.
So we have the newest one is the Charismatic Conqueror.
Yeah, please,
right? Like, that is the newest.
Take a sec to break this card down, because oh my gosh, I love this card. Go ahead, brother.
So one of the issues that I was finding constantly with my mana base with the deck is I was always losing a lot of life and being low on life. I always was like, City of Brass, or the deck is very mana hungry and mana intensive, and so I was always finding myself, and my commander is late to the party, so to speak. So I get hit early on with the Ragavans, with the Timnas. So I was being low on life. I constantly find myself, and these vampires have lifelink, which is a godsend. And so this guy right here, and people in CEDH agree, they don't want their artifacts to be tapped. They're giving me the 1/1s.
Yep.
Once they see I'm drawing cards and Marneus is out there, they're some people start doing the calculus and the math, and they take a little bit more longer to think about it and casting it. But typically, if Marneus isn't out, they'll give me the 1/1, and then all of a sudden I got 10 1/1s, and I'm gaining life and interacting. So Charismatic Conqueror, big fan, big fan.
Yes. The next one I'm seeing on your list is one I haven't had the pleasure of casting yet, but my guy EDH Senpai has been talking big on it. Talk to me about Fairy Artisan, man.
It is. I would, if I auto include in Marneus, automatic include, must be played with Marneus. Doesn't matter what flavor. There are quick Abdel Marneus lists. There's different kind of Marneus lists, but Fairy Artisan is an absolute all-star in the meta. It is. I in the finals of a 40 or 50 person CDH tournament, I had a Fairy Artisan on board that somebody casted the Captain Ranger of Eos, so I get the Captain Ranger of Eos. I go get my Esper Sentinel, or Walking Ballista too. My Ranger Captain can also get Walking Ballista.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about that little secret tech.
Put them on real quick.
Yeah. Ranger Captain of Eos says, CMC of Walking Ballista is 0.
Yep.
So you can go get it with Ranger Captain of Eos. So Fairy Artisans gives you the Ranger. Ranger go get you Esper or Walking Ballista. Then you also can sack. You can, before the next creature comes in, you sack Ranger.
Yep.
Just because it's going to get exiled anyway. So Fairy Artisans, and it is a bananas nutso card that I think people undervalue. It is 4 mana. It does come at it is expensive on the higher end of things, but it pays for itself with the value and the type of creatures people typically cast in CEDH.
Yes.
Also, on the flip side of that, it is a stacks piece. people won't cast creatures because you have fairy artisans out.
Yes.
So it does the roll is double. It's a doubly rolled card.
Because at this point, it turns off so many cards. Now I think about it, it turns off Orcish Bowmaster. Because at that point, the minute they cast one, the ETB goes in the stack. Their ETB will go on the stack, but won't be able to target yours because it won't be on the battlefield until after your Orcish Bowmaster enters, and then your Orcish Bowmaster will enter and kill theirs. And even though I think it's non-token creature, and you won't even get the Orc army. You'll only get the original Orcish Bowmaster. But at that point, like, it shuts off Orcish Bowmaster. Now that I look at it, wow.
Dockside, it shuts off. People aren't casting Dockside.
Oh hell
in Fairy
no!
Artisan.
Especially with the tokens. Fuck no. Yeah, nah.
They're not casting Dockside. They're not like even Croms. People are like, oh, do I want to give them a Crom? I've had Croms. Like, it is a Atraxas. Oh, forget about it. Like it's a pseudo stack piece, right?
Yeah.
You see the Fairy Artisans. They're like, I'm not gonna cast Atraxa until the Fairy Artisan's off the board.
Yeah, no, I hear you, my guy. I hear you. Man, well, shit. Then that leads me into the next 4-mana one, because this deck is a little like, it is a more what you describe, like mid-range, a little bit of control and stacks package, but it's a little heavy on the 4-drops. But this is another bomb. Talk to me about Grim Hireling, my guy.
I like, in theory, I love Grim Hireling, but I'm gonna be honest, it very rarely works. People they go out of their way to stop the card, or block, or it is. I mean, if it works, it works, but it unlike, I think, like Fairy Artisan, which requires more to work, Grim Hireling, it draws a lot of hate.
Yeah.
It forces, like, I think I get blocks more often than not when Grim Hireling, like, people will sacrifice their creatures and block if Grim Hireling is on the board. And so I've had less success with the card because of how absurd it is.
Yeah, because at this point, with Marneus having double strike, at this point, it gives you 4 treasures and 2 draws, because each set will give you 2 treasures.
Each instance, correct. Yeah. And people, like, if that happens once on the table, it won't happen again. You know what I mean? Like, people be like, oh, we're not gonna let that go off again. And so I love Grim Hireling. Like, I'm not gonna take it out the deck, but I have had no success with the card.
Yeah, I actually had a game not too recently where earlier today where I played out, got a mana drain to Atraxa, so I had 7 mana for my turn. Then went in, cast Marneus, and then led with a Grim Hireling afterwards, and so I mana drained it, and it was the epitome of, like, he was just like, bro, I've seen Marneus with this card before. I played Marneus, like, I can't let that land. I was like, all right, and it was the epitome, and to be real, I get it. 4 treasures, 2 cards is a lot, but when you got the Ristic Study on one person's board and you got a 1 ring on 3 on somebody else's board, it's kind of like, my guy, like, it's like. It's a powerful synergy, but I don't know if it deserves as much hate as it does receive, because it's not going to end the game unless you're trying to wipe everybody's creatures out.
And that's, you bring up a wonderful point. That's another thing I've adjusted to is the people's, you have to understand their rational fears. Conqueror's Flail. I used to run Conqueror's Flail in this list, or in Marneus, and whenever I cast a Conqueror's Flail, if Marneus was on board, it would kill the Marneus. It would kill my commander would be dead.
My guy.
And so the card is fantastic and wonderful, but I noticed a play pattern. I noticed that every time I cast Conqueror's Flail, I immediately gave my opponents the opportunity to politic, to, oh my God, he's the threat. Oh my, you can't let, like, and the deck, I need to be able to have those small snowballs. And if people are killing my 5-mana commander now, cost 7, if it really started, I noticed that, and that is a bigger point that your listeners should be aware of. When you start picking up interactions or occurrences that you should be able to be flexible enough to maneuver around it. Like, I've noticed in my play patterns that every time I cast Conqueror's Flail, people rationally thought I was trying to win the game or trying to do some shenanigans, where I'm just trying to equip it to Marneus and hit you for 12 commander damage.
Exactly.
Right? That's what I'm trying to do. But realistically, people, they would kill my commander, they would counter Marneus or bounce it, or I was drawing. It made my life harder, and so I took the card out because of reacting and being flexible to what people were doing.
Yeah. I experienced a very similar thing with my thought process with Defense Grid and Conqueror's Flow in my Reunion Fire Dancer deck. I usually try to cast a turn 1 to turn 2 Reonia to get around the Dranthus and whatever not. But my thing is, at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, like, I can't play these cards because the minute I try to cast a Conqueror's Flail and equip it to Reonia, my 5-mana red commander, people were like, what are you trying to do? And the red alerts, everybody saying, oh, this is the problem, this is the problem. I'm like, dude, you have a Basalt Monolith and a Kinnan, or you just tutored last turn and you're playing Tivit. You got Time Seed. What are you talking about? I'm not, even if you verbalize words, I'm not trying to win. People will say, but we can't interact anymore in your turns. Like, you're right. And it turns into the point where it almost feels like I'm forcing the table to make an option. I would even say even more than if a Consecrated Sphinx hits the table, because people could still interact with a Consecrated Sphinx during your end step. But with that Conqueror's Flail, it's like right here, right now, do it or else. You know what I'm saying? And just completely that can pull you back in the Stone Age when it comes to, granted, I do find that the deck is really good at mana depending on how you built it. I do find like I usually can get a good solid amount of mana, like if I choose a good opener. But even then, I don't want to be casting this commander 2-3 times in the game in any universe, you know? Yeah, so.
Exactly. And so Grim Hireling, while it is a fantastic card, I am considering cutting it. It is on the chopping block because I have found that the play patterns do not support its inclusion because I cast it and I'm generating threat, right? I'm becoming a threat.
Yeah.
So it people start turning spells my way where I'm just trying to, don't worry about this Fairy Artisan or don't worry about this Talion, right? Like I want these or this Geomancer that just got me 2 lands. Like, don't worry about me ramping 2 on you, right? Like, don't it's not a big deal. Like,
dude.
That's what I don't want. I want those interactions, and then rather than the cast the Grim Hireling on turn 3, and then everyone's like, oh, we gotta, like, yo, who got an answer for this, or you got, like they start.
They'll let Italian sit on the board on 2 and draw 10 cards to go 3 turns, but you make 4 turns and draw 2 cards, it's over. You're like, guys, these are not the same thing, guys.
Absolutely, and I will. So I have another story. Heliod. Heliod is another card too.
Oh, please talk to me about this. Talk to me.
It's under the radar. It hasn't I think gotten to the common zeitgeist or people aren't as scared of Heliod as they should be, and maybe I shouldn't be saying anything, but it is. I've won games where I've casted an early Heliod and people will have they're like, okay, he just cast a Heliod, and then the next turn I'm not trying to ballista for the win. I'm doing something else. And then they lower their guard a little bit. Yeah. And the following turn I do something else. And then Heliod sits on the board for 2-3 turns, and then all of a sudden I look out and my opponents are tapped out, ballista on 2. And then it's I've won games in CEDH tournaments under those exact same circumstances because people, they forgot it. It kind of just, they kept the interaction up that one turn. I didn't do anything, and they felt like they wasted their mana, and now they're disregarding it.
Exactly.
And another thing too, the other option is I shared with you how getting low on life. Heliod occasionally will let me, I will pump up Marneus and give him lifelink.
Yep.
And then I've gained the life back. So it has a duality to it. It's not just I'm just trying to win with ballista. It also has the second effect or ability of giving a creature of mine lifelink so that I don't die.
And that, because you brought this up earlier about the life gain issues, and that's so real. Like that, I felt that. Like it's funny. I recently added Shieldred the Apocalypse to my deck, but I've been really thinking about adding Heliod in its place, because though I do enjoy Shieldred a lot, I actually had a game where I went from 12 life to 54 life in one turnaround because I was able to draw that many cards and all these other things. Was really great. Heliod also being a combo piece where all Shieldred is doing is preventing people from wheel and overdrawing, it's good, but I like how this is a combo that doesn't take your commander, which is also a big thing for me. I love that. But even more, it allows you to honestly maybe even go a Marneus beat strategy, because if you give your commander a lifelink and you hit someone twice, it's double strike. We have to remember, this is double strike.
Game over.
You're gaining 6 life. No, you're actually gaining 7 life, because on the first hit, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then on the second hit, you put another +1/+1 counter on it. But granted, the +1 kind of counter is after the damage happens. So you're hitting somebody for 7 commander damage on the first swipe. That means you're honestly putting a 3-turn clock on one person. You know what I'm saying? Which, if they're a rock side deck, yeah, it could be scary, but the whole table's like, bro, I'm not worried about that shit. He's hitting that. He's taking them out. It's really only scary to one person because everybody feels like they're immortal until they're dead. You know what I'm saying? But I do like that.
Absolutely.
I do like that, man. I do like
another concept I didn't really talk about was I made sure all of the way that I built my deck, duality. All of the cards are, I know bad, like this is what me and Senpai talk about. No bad cards, right? Like all of these cards on their own right are powerful magic cards, right? I'm not running any Orcus Lumberjacks or like these cards that they enable a strategy but are in of themselves bad cards.
Okay.
All of these cards independently, they have the cards that are questionable. They have 2 roles or multiple roles, minus the Consecrated Finks. Again, that is.
It's a haymaker.
One of the it's a haymaker. It's tester. It's the newest addition to the list. But everything everything has 2 or more roles. Is the Fairy Mastermind in here? Do I have Fairy Mastermind in?
Currently, we don't see the Fairy. I do see. No, I do see you have the Ledger Shredder in here, but yeah, not the Fairy Mastermind.
Yeah, no. Okay, but all of the cards in my, like the Mondrak, it wins the game with the Ashnod's Altar, but it also is just a token generator, doubler, right? It just gives me the token double in generation. Walking Ballista, it wins the game with infinite mana. It's my win con infinite mana. It also is just like kill a Bloom Tender, right? Like you know what I mean? There is some duality in the cards that I run, and it's very purposeful and intentional about making sure I don't run. I run cards that do multiple things. Ashnod's Altar, WinCon also ramps to cast my commander, to cast other spells, sack 2 creatures, cast the One Ring.
Yeah.
Right? Like it is there's duality there to all of it.
Yeah. And I do want to ask about one, we have subtlety in this list. Now talk to me about that as an interaction piece.
So I asked myself, how do people win in like how do people win? That's why Angel's Grace trigger, like how do people win in cEDH, right? Dockside loops, Dasa,
yep.
Right? Those are right. It's and then I've also noticed we're moving more towards creature heavy metas, Galtas or not Galta, the Atalis, like Kinnins, or there are a lot of creatures, that I want to be able to interact. A lot of people are, silencing or what is the Ranger Captain of Eos can't cast non-creature spells.
Yeah.
Right. So I found subtlety to be a interesting addition to the free spell list.
Yes.
So when somebody's going for that dockside and they see you tapped out, right? They're like, okay, force of will or bust, and I'm like, subtlety, right? Also, it is. People don't play around subtlety.
They don't.
And no, because they're not aware of it, or it hasn't gained a lot of notoriety in the meta. And so I found subtlety to be a very effective additional free spell.
Yeah.
I view it from that access. It's not, very rarely is it a creature on board, but it is my free spell. That's what I've used it in this list for. Again, one of the newer inclusions, it is also a tester, seeing how it's performing. It's not a mainstay of the deck.
I think it lends itself. And shout out to EDH Senpai, just dropped in the chat, bro. Thank you. What's up, bro? So I will say, I think subtlety, I would not call this a good nor a bad card. I think this is leaning on your play style. And from what I've heard, with you being more of a reactive player, I think it's the perfect way to really catch somebody off guard, because unless they have a draw engine on board or like a way to really just get access to that card they put on top of their library, it really does, like, it can disrupt the plan, because we don't see this card in our meta a lot. And I think it lends itself to, I hear that argument over it being a great card to lend yourself to just being like, hey, I can really disrupt a creature based combo. Or granted, like, we don't see a heavy amount of we don't see a heavy amount of planeswalkers in this deck, but even be able to hit planeswalkers is something that's nice and flexible. So I'm not gonna knock this, because if you're playing reactive, it is free. I love free interaction. So
I do too. It is more of a gotcha kind of thing. I'm not. It comes in and out. It doesn't stay in. Like if I think I'm playing a very heavy, like what is the loops, the intuition, list. That I think the metas are going to be creature light. Then subtlety comes out. If I'm thinking, oh, I'm going into 6 Kinnan players, subtlety might stay in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I did,
maybe on the Kenny because they are flipping into it. They are flipping into
so I did want to talk about some interactions that that aren't apparent to or obvious to folks.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
well, right before you get an interaction, let me hold right quick. For our token generators, our last ones are we got Lothal Corrupt Sheriff, awesome one. Orcish Bowmaster is another one, and I think you have also Monologue Tax and Smothering Tithe. And do you have any other token generators I'm missing?
no, so Grim Hireling, no, I don't think Monologue Tag,
Yep.
Smothering Tithe.
Yep.
No, those are all my token generators.
Okay, 100%.
And the commander himself.
And the commander itself, the ultimate token generation. If you have training grounds out, pay 4. If regular price, pay 6, and draw a card and make two vigilance creatures, which is, I love that. But now let's talk about this interaction. Talk to me, brother.
All right, so Takenuma.
Oh, who are you, bro? I don't play black decks, but I've channeled this land in almost every game I've played. I fucking loved it. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
So the reason the interaction is that if, let's say, early on I have a Walking Ballista in my hand and there's a Kinnan on the board, right? I have 4 mana and I'm like, oh, I want to kill this Kinnan. I cast Walking Ballista for 2. I kill the Kinnan, right? Now Walking Ballista's in the graveyard. Later on, 6 turns later, I'm going to win the game. I make my infinite mana with one of my infinite mana combos, and then draw my entire library of Marneus, and then discard the Takenuma, get my Walking Ballista back.
Wow, I like that.
So that is the why a lot of people have missed that interaction piece, and that if something goes, people are like, what happens if somebody gets rid of your Walking Ballista? I was like, unless they exile it, I'll get it back with Takenuma.
Right.
And I also have another line to win the game is Blind Obedience. Remember, I talked about cards having duality.
Yes.
Blind Obedience with infinite mana wins the game, and Hullbreaker Horror wins the game.
Yep, because the extort. Yep.
And
if I could add on, it is a necessary card in our current meta because of the fucking One Ring. People are every deck. I think 98% of decks currently right now are running the One Ring, and we have to have a way to win when people have protection. And this causing people to lose life is so powerful. Not even to mention its static ability of creatures and artifacts coming in tapped. But continue, brother. Go ahead.
No. That is absolutely the way the evasion and getting around the One Ring is it makes it duality very necessary. The artifacts entering tapped. The number one way people generate mana and do things in CEDH where we currently are at are tokens, treasure tokens, and that's it. That's just where the meta is at. Having played CEDH since inception, we are currently in the token phase of CEDH. Treasure tokens, dockside, artifacts, grim monoliths, but like treasure, artifacts tapping for mana is what's happening in CEDH, and so this card shuts that off, and it is a must-have.
Yes, I hear you there, man. I hear you. I agree with that. Talk to me a little bit more about some of your interaction that you run.
And so some of the interesting one, the Dal Amroth, right? That land, it untaps the One Ring, so you can tap it again.
Yeah.
The blue land, it's from the Lord of the Rings. That is, it untaps my One Ring, and now my One Ring draws me another additional thing. So that's a quirky little, fun. It's not apparent. It's not in your face immediately. You understand that that's happening.
Yeah.
So we also have Trick Mind. I don't leave home without it. I've Trick Mind Kenrith.
Yeah. I see that.
And I want folks to know that not only does it stop that first iteration of it, they also can't activate other abilities later on. So things like Kenrith, or Kenneth, a Kinnan are shut off for the turn, and so really understanding when to use it, and it stops the Thasas, and so you let the Demonic Consultation exile their library, you let the Tainted Pack resolve, and when the Thassa back on the stack, you Trick Bind, and that opponent is essentially out of the game unless they have a bounce effect in hand, or some other way. But it is very devastating to Thassa's players to trick bind the Thassa's ability.
No, I hear that. I see you also are running it for some 2-mana interaction, permission denied. Now, the community has, I feel like, unanimously said, oh, this is a trap card, don't play it. But I'm seeing you playing it, so talk to me, Mr. Reactive.
I'm exploring. This is another one of those pieces I'm exploring. I don't hate it, I don't love it, but it I remember the community when the One Ring first came out. They were like, "Oh, 4 mana. Oh, it doesn't." They were
we did. We did. We so did.
They weren't, and then all of a sudden, but like I knew, I was like, this is the One Ring. Like, this is the marquee card. This is the thing, right? And so I knew it was going to be good everywhere. And just in my head, from like it being, I don't even know what the text of the card is, but it's the card. Right, like I don't even know, permission denied. I'm not sold on it. I'm trying it out. It is new, but I've liked it so far. It is what my deck has a high skill cap, and what I mean by that is, if you play arena, right, people use their first kill spells on anything. You have to be strategic in what you use your things and when you use them. It's not an automatic use, but it is a silver bullet, I think, that has some applications.
Yeah. I hear that. I definitely had a counter war earlier today on playing Marneus, and I can see how if you lead with this counter spell and protect this specific counter spell, it shuts down their entire turn, and so it allows you to both counter like their silence on the stack to try to protect their turn, but also allow you to just say, oh no, fuck your silence, and I'm just going to say fuck the rest of your turn. Now, of course, Grand Abolisher, Ranger Captain EOS, there's another conversation, but I like the possibilities. That's what I was excited about this one, and then I heard the point of view, so I was like, all right, I ain't really a blue player anyway, so fuck it. So, but yeah,
it's again, it's one of those like Consecrated Sphinx. It's not a mainstay of the deck. It's one of the more recent inclusions.
Gotcha.
I am trying it out and seeing how I like it. If you another white blue spell that I'm gonna leave in the list that doesn't come out is this spell can't be countered, the Dovin's Veto. That is that's not a very I don't know why it's not very popular or ran more. I don't know if you noticed, but I have a lot of spells in my deck that say you can't interact with it.
Yeah.
Like Dovin's Veto, Angel's Grace, Trick Bind. You know what I mean? Like I'm a fan of this. Like, there's no, I don't care what you're talking about. It's a no for me, dog.
It's like, it's no. I want to see none of that shit. It's over. Done. Stop.
So EDH Senpai brings up a good point. I just want to rewind a little bit on permission denied. It is a spicy another way to interact. If you, let's say I have infinite mana after Hullbreaker Horror, if I don't have a silence or a Grand Abolisher in my hand at the time, I can cast a rock and permission denied it for the effect of making sure I silence all my opponents. However, in that moment, they could interact or they can counter the permission denied. They could bait out interaction.
Yeah.
I've never done that line. It's too big brain for me, but it is a line.
It is a line. I think it's a little mana intensive, but like I said earlier, Marneus does make a shit ton of mana, like in my experience with it. So I need to see it. Like, yeah, I need to see it. I need to see it. That's all I'd say.
If you don't want to run permission denied, Dispel is a card in its place. Dispel would go in its place as another really very good counter spell. But yeah,
I'll say personally, if I could throw this in here, one counter spell that Dispel, I'm on the wall about. Like, I played mono blue Teferi as well. Like, that was the deck after my first, well, not my first blue deck, but it was a blue deck that I really was like, okay, I want to get more into blue. Let me just play around with this. I was not very happy with Dispel, like, because there will be times where I tapped out to do something. I held over in that one blue. I'm like, oh, I got to Dispel. I'm about to do my thing. And then they fucking, like, the players winning without it. There's so many creature combos in the meta right now. I kid you not. Like, I will not say it's bad. It's clearly good because it's still in the CEDH staples. But I'll be honest, I'd rather run permission denied over Dispel and I know it's a 2-mana spell versus 1. I think the fact that it only hits instants is really tough when you have something like Swan Song that hits instant sorceries and enchantments, or mental misstep that hits all 1-drops and all, or offer. I'm seeing you. Are you currently not on offer? You can't refuse. You're not.
That's a bad magic card.
Oh, all right. Let's start that talk.
I just told you no bad magic cards. That is a terrible.
You
magic
don't.
card.
Okay, all right. Let's have that
more often
talk.
than not, what happens is with the offer you can't refuse. I've watched it happen. There'll be there'll a counter war going on. Somebody uses it, and they're like, okay, cool. You can counter this spell, and I'll get the treasure tokens, and then I'll go do something else. I love it when people counter my spells with the offer you can't refuse. I'm on cloud 9 when that happens. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, because you definitely get the Marneus
tutor,
triggers with it as well. Yeah.
Marneus and so many things give me Marneus triggers. I've had people in real life stop after someone gave me a token, and they're like, wait, what? Like, they swan song something. I get the bird token. I'm like, okay, drop Marneus trigger on the stack, and they're like, what?
Yep.
Like that's another one of those like hidden interaction points. And but yeah, no, I'm not. Offer you can't refuse is a bad magic card. And,
okay,
and
I gotta say this.
I do not want to give my opponents two treasures.
I'll say this. I think it's a skill thing. I think it is. You need to either start or end a counter war off. I say start on offer you can't refuse, where they either have to counter that. It's similar to like pact negation. Start the counter war off there, or end it where, okay, I have no more counter magic. I don't give a fuck that I gave him 2 treasures, because the dockside or the Thassa's or the Tainted Pact or the Underworld Breach or whatever the problem is has been taken care of, where those 2 treasures are a lot of times so innocent. And it's like, at least for my play style, I'll say this, and I'm no fuck that shit. I'm gonna say this. I don't think offer you can't refuse is a bad card. I think this is. It's a great. I think it's a great counter spell. I think you need to think before you cast it. I do know skilled players will consistently, unless you, and this is the thing why I say start, unless you start off with offer you can't refuse, they will never say, okay, let offer resolve and get the treasures and do more. No, if I cast, for example, silence, start off with offer, they can't do that little trick where let me get the treasures and keep fighting. No, offer is either going to resolve and you get those 2 treasures, or it's not going to resolve and you'll get the 2 treasures and not be silenced. Or on the flip side, now I'm silenced and they ain't gonna get their shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's
absolutely, I agree with you so much, and I think that's where I was talking about this deck and why my design about the meta is that I recognize that the skill cap doesn't, where we are at currently across the pantheon of EDH, CDH players, they don't have that discernment of understanding which order, right? Like, as a coming from being playing at high skill Magic, I know that order matters, right? Like, I know the order that you play your spells matter, and a lot of newer Magic players, like I have a guy a wonderful guy in he just started playing Magic and he started with CEDH, right?
Mm-hmm.
He and that is a lot of the community doesn't have that kind of discernment where they just see it offer you can't refuse in all the high top ranking list, and so they put it in their deck and then they're playing it unoptimally or in ways that are somebody's like, okay, I'll let that resolve, get my 2 treasures, and then you're silenced back on the stack. I'm going to use a different counter spell. I'm going to use my force of negation after I've gotten my 2 treasures.
Right. Or they'll give the Tim the deck a swan song on some bullshit spell, to give them another Tim the attacker. It's like, yeah, this like little things like that where they're not completely thinking about things. Part of it is experience, but they're not fully thinking about the plays they do before they make them. They just say, oh, I have a card, I can counter the spell. Oh, I did a thing. And CDH is not about doing the thing. It's about winning the game. And
yes, absolutely. It is about winning the game. And so it's not for me. The card is,
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Can we be halfway, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. Reasonable minds can differ.
Okay. Let's be halfway. I ain't gonna say it's not for you, but can we just say it's not a terrible card? It is a viable card.
It's not a terrible card.
It's not terrible. Okay. All right. But I say not even a bad card. But I say even not a bad card.
Let's take my list doesn't give I'm looking to take resources away from my opponents, right? Like, I'm running damn.
Look, you can't sell me on giving somebody 2 treasures. I'm not mad at you, brother.
I play, blind obedience. I am trying to slowly, with smother my opponents to death without them realizing it's happening. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
That's my impetus for the deck, and so it just doesn't fit my narrative
I got you.
of what I'm trying to do. But it is it has a place in the meta
Okay,
for turbo decks that need cheap interaction because I'm going to win this turn.
yeah,
It is absolutely useful. But
yeah.
that's not what I'm doing. I'm not trying to storm off and win in one turn. I'm gonna make it so that like when you try to stop me, there's nothing you can do.
It's over. In the conversation. Don't do that shit. Now, I got you. I definitely think, kind of, if you fully think about offer you can't refuse, it's better as a offensive spell than defensive spell. If you are trying to protect this, I'll just use the silence again. If you're trying to protect the silence, it's a bad counterspell. If you're trying to prevent the silence, it's a great counterspell, because at the end of the day, they'll never see the two treasures because they need to protect the silence unless they have a misdirect or blah, 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 whatever not. That's a different conversation. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I do see that, because if I'm casting the silence and my only other counterspell is offer, I may be opening them up. Now they went from only had a swan song. Oh, now you just giving me treasures. Now I can also cast my Flusterstorm and what's the spell? Now you've turned me on to three counterspells. Went from 1 to 3. So I will meet you there. I can hear how that if misplayed can be a messed up one. I think I'm just looking at the rest of your interaction package though, and it's a good one. We got swords. Is there a reason no path over swords, or how? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, like C don't want to give my opponents resources. Although I know people are light on basic land.
but life is a resource. I'm just messing with you. Not like
no, yeah.
I even see in your deck you have the
one.
You have the one basic layer. I'm guessing for the swords or the whatever not. Yeah. And it's funny, okay, now that you bring this up now, on that, I actually, in my list of Marneus, currently I am running, because of greed, I'm running Winds of Abandon over Dam. Because I have so many creatures, I don't want to destroy my own creatures that are stacks pieces. Like if I have not, for example, what is that? Oh, you're not running it. I currently run, what is this? It's a creature that does blind obedience. Dauntless Dismantler. I'm currently running Dauntless Dismantler as a way to get that down early. Completely, it can just slow a game down to an abruptly halt. And
yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of just. I'm a fan. I haven't tested it out yet. I haven't gotten around to it, but it is on the maybe. It's percolating.
Yeah,
it's percolating.
So, yeah. And within that, it's percolated. So within that, when I just, the idea of Damn, it's a very good card, but I wasn't with the idea of like, I make a lot of mana, so I can recast the Marneus. I can recast anything I need to recast, but I just didn't like the idea of unlocking the board in order to do what I wanted to do, especially because it's not like Toxic Deluge where I can control, like, okay, I can keep the Drain at the round, or I can keep the whatever not. So is the reason for never not playing the 6 mana overloaded Winds of Abandon because you're worried about giving them resources with the tapped basic lands?
No, that is one of it, but I also like the duality, right? I can single target one thing, or I can kill everything, and it is your mileage may vary what kind of decision to make, what your meta, what you're seeing. I think Damn on just like let's just reset. I'm okay with a reset. Marty, I love a reset.
Yeah.
Right. Like if the game goes long, I'm going to win. Right.
Yeah.
Like that is. It's either going to be a draw or I'm going to win. If the game goes past turn 4 or 5, I feel very comfortable and confident in Marneus. And so I'm okay with it. Okay. I'm okay sacrificing a little, taking myself a step back because I know my deck it's looking to go long.
Right.
And so it's okay it's okay. I'll sacrifice a little bit as long as I keep everybody else in check. And Winds of Abandon is it does this, they fill similar roles. It's
it's single target exile or wipe the whole board, your opponent's board.
Correct.
Yeah. I will say this though, you did bring this up earlier, and this I've got the cast that Winds of Abandon now 2 or 3 times, and I loved it, but it does put all eyes on me. And because at this point, like I'll have a Talion, an Orcish Bowmaster, an Opposition Agent, and and a Lotho on my board, and I just wiped Kenin's board. I wiped everyone else's board, and now I'm just sitting here, no win con in hand yet, but I'm literally just sitting here like, well, pass turn now, and I've just tapped 6 mana to do that. Everybody's looking at me like, oh, we got to take Marneus down. That's a place where I've kind of sit here and just like, oh my gosh, like I'm not.
What did I do to myself? I made myself, and I don't got no. When they say you the threat, you don't got a horse. You can't. Yep.
I can't do shit. I have like 5 cards in hand.
Nothing.
3 of them, the bitches are lands. I'm looking like, bro, I ain't got shit. But it's like, even if I showed you my hand, they'd be like, but you could draw more cards. I'm looking like, you right. You know, it is what it is. And that is a place where I can't see to fit your play style, wiping everything together where it's like, no, nobody the fucking threat. Y'all, we going back to the Stone Age. Nah, fuck that shit. We all going back to 0. Nah, so I definitely can see that a lot. Let me see. Go ahead, brother.
The other piece of interaction that doesn't appear like it, tiebreaker horror. I don't know, like that. This card it's a mistake. They shouldn't have printed this card. It is bananas. Hullbreaker horror.
Oh yeah.
That card is a mistake. Using it proactively to bounce things that are problems. This card is interaction, and people should understand it as such.
Yeah. I feel like, and I've even fallen prey to this when I'm against it, I see it as an interaction piece. But when I play it, I see it as a win con. You know what I'm saying? And I can see how that being a mistake, mainly because you're sitting here and you're like, dude, like, oh, I'm trying to go infinite with it. When it's like, no, every time you cast a spell, not only are you countering someone's spell, but you're also bouncing a non-land permanent or bouncing a whole nother counter spell if it's a multi-spell bounce. So yeah, it is definitely, it's a beater. It's a 7/8 attacker. It's an anti-counter spell, just everything. And as long as you're keeping your hand filled with Marneus or whatever not, it can put in work. So I definitely hear you with that one.
Yeah. So that is thinking about the duality, right? Like Hullbreaker deck is all about duality. Hullbreaker Horror can be a win con. It could also, depending on, where I'm at in the game, I could also use it to, okay, I got a Kennen, I got to get this Kenrith off the board and make him slow him down, and he has to recast it. I got to, you know what I mean? Or this the Void Winnower or whatever else is problematic at the time that just need to buy myself some time with.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I hear that. Let's see. Hullbreaker's another piece. When it comes to interaction, everything else is looking good. I do want to have a question because, as you know, I'm a proactive player. I enjoy pushing the boundary. I'm a patient proactive player. That's what differentiates me. But I am a proactive player. When it comes to your list, I'm seeing we're at 29 lands with no Grim Monolith. Now, with mine, I took one land out, threw a Grim Monolith in. But I've seen. I wanted to see. Is the 29 lands because you really want to make sure every land drop is made, or talk to me about that?
My deck is very mana intensive. All of the things that are important in my deck cost mana, and
Gotcha.
Not only they're like double pips, right? Like Flesh Duplicant is 2 black. Two blue. The 4 mana tutor spell is 3 black, right?
Yep. Good old Beseech the Mirror.
Beseech the Mirror is 3 black.
Yeah.
Mondraft is double white. My deck is very pip intensive, and the reason I run Grim Monolith is because I can't even cast my commander with it, right? Like if I cast my commander with Grim Monolith, I go down, like a mana goes away because I need Esper to cast him. I tap Grim Monolith to cast Marneus on turn 4. So like I play Grim Monolith on turn 2. On turn 3, I play a land, tap it, and then I'm tapped out and I got my commander. That's not a play pattern I like.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I can hear that.
Then Grim Monolith stays tapped, and it isn't, it's not very useful. I don't have any, but for the One Ring, there's nothing else in my list that 3, the Ashnod's Altar, I guess, as well. But
right.
But for the One Ring, there's nothing that would, and I'm not trying to turbo out of Ashnod's Altar.
Right.
Grim Monolith
Right.
It doesn't serve a purpose. It also it does it with Hullbreaker Horror. It's hard to go infinite with it. It doesn't fit what I'm doing.
Yeah, I will say it does actually go infinite with, or at least because you only need colorless. It goes infinite with Mana Vault, Mana Crypt, and Soul Ring. I will say that it does enable that. So yeah,
it's just harder. You know what I mean? It's not. It does. It just I mean, it's not for this list, but I do. When I was playing, I played Francisco Thrasios, and I put it in there because that is a Thrasios activation, right?
That's
Like
real.
it makes
Yep.
sense. It it didn't make sense for Marneus.
Okay, cool. Outside of this, like before we get into some gameplay, and we do have EDH. Said Andre, do you think screwdriver? Andre, EDH Senpai said, Andre, do you think sonic screwdriver is your next big add-in secret tech?
I've been trolling Senpai. Me and we've been talking about this for my next secret tech. I'm gonna show it to the camera right now. I have it in the list right now. So no, it's not. So no to sonic screwdriver. But are you ready for the really crazy wild secret tech that
Talk to me. I'm gonna pull it up. Talk to me. Hold on. Let me see this junk. Hold on.
It's not in the list right now. I just put it in like a couple days ago.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Tell me the card name real quick.
EMRAKUL, the Promised End.
Whoa. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Hold on now. EMRAKUL, the Promised End. Talk to me about this. So this is it. I have it up on the screen now. EMRAKUL, the Promised End is a 13 mana Eldrazi legendary creature, and it says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each card type among the cards in your graveyard. So you will get a discount on this up to 6, I'm guessing. And it says when you cast this spell, you gain control of target opponent's player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn. It has flying, trample, and protection from instants, so it's very hard to remove. But talk to me. I need to be sold. Sell me. Go ahead, sir.
So if it resolves, you're I'm taking out 2 players.
Talk to me.
It resolves. Whoever has the most resources, and it's a cast trigger. So trick bind is the only thing that stops it. Disallow, trick bind. Nobody runs disallow, so just trick bind. That's the only card in the entire meta that I can think about trick bind is the only one in the entire meta. Stifle is fringe. That stops its cast trigger.
Right.
So whoever has the most resources, whoever's ahead, I'm taking their turn, and then I'm going to use their turn to dismantle them and another player.
I see. Okay. Do you feel like this is synergistic, or just another haymaker along with Consecrated Sphinx, that the card itself is so powerful that if it lands, which outside of Mana Drain, Force of Will, and Mind Break Trap, if it lands and when it lands, it just ends the game automatically?
So I'm currently not running Consecrated Sphinx, and this is taking that place for Consecrated.
That's why I was thinking. It feels like that Consecrated. It feels like the similar slot of that Haymaker spell that says, "Nah, like let me go ahead and just." One Haymaker doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt for one Haymaker, especially if it's more in your personal alignment. Is this legal in Commander? Hold on now. It is.
It is.
Which EMRAKUL is not legal in Commander?
The 15 is not legal in Commander.
Got you. All right. Well, I haven't been sold yet, so I hear it.
Also, it's okay. It's all right. It's all right.
I want to be sold. I like to be sold.
I got you. It's not for everybody.
No. I want to be sold to sell the audience.
You can, whoever is ahead, you can take their turn, and then you can use, like, think about cEDH. There's so many. Everybody's like keeping all their resources for that turn they try to win, right? I'm gonna cast a spell and I'm gonna counter it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm gonna counter their own spell.
Right.
I'm gonna go demonic tutor for their 1 piece of removal in the whole library to go kill somebody else's turn. Not only that, like, if I have a Ristic on board, I'm not gonna pay, and I'm gonna draw myself a bunch of cards. Like, the applications are endless.
Yeah.
Not to mention the addition of the protection from instants.
It's very hard to remove outside of Odawara.
If you go look at the top 4 list from the most recent Lotus series, there's no non-instant speed interact. Like you said, Odawara. That's, nobody. They don't want Damn. They don't want Winds of Abandon. There might be a Toxic Deluge for 13.
You made them kill yourself on that. If you play a black as well, you made them kill yourself on that Toxic.
Yeah. They can overload Cyclonic Rift, but that's 7 mana. And again, I am going to demonic tutor or tutor through somebody's deck, find their 1 piece of interaction, and I'm going to use it against another opponent. Like, I'm going to dismantle my opponents with this card. I'm going to choose
Got
whoever
you.
has the most resources, whoever, has 7 cards in hand and has all, I'm going to go get their dock side. I'm going to go do bananas things on their turn to hurt them
Mm.
and somebody else.
Got you. And so at that point, it's kind of like the totem pole of like, who's the most powerful, who's the most second powerful, and then at that point, third person, you just fucking lucky you ain't doing shit. I'll come get you on my turn. I got you. Okay. All right, I hear that.
So
Okay. All
So
right. Okay.
that is, I love the cast trigger. Of course, I'm not like I usually is casting it for 8 or 9 is what I'm usually casting it for. But again, see the treasure generation. I want to go long. My deck is looking to extend the game. I'm not looking to just assemble a win turn 3 or 4 like I think is the common, like what is the theme in the meta. I'm actively stopping that. Okay, you try to assemble your win. Cool. Walk me through the line. Show me how you're gonna win. Cool. Last second, Angel's Grace.
Yeah.
Next,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean. That's what I'm doing, and part of that is the skill, right? Like you can't tip your hat. You can't. Oh my God, you gotta act kind of like, oh, how are you gonna win? Like what? Like can you walk me through it? Show me. Like okay, yeah, and you got, right. So
Yeah. I hear you.
you get them to commit to a line because they're not playing around Angel's Grace. I think a little bit more now. It's people are starting to catch on to how good Angel's Grace is, and
Yeah. It's a good card.
it is.
It's a
Yeah,
good
it
card,
is. People
especially
are
for
so
those early Thassa's wins. That I think that outside, like if you got Dispel in your deck and other things, that's great for ad nauseum. But I'm gonna be honest, like turn 1, turn 2, Angel's Grace, I mean, is the perfect thing against a early just au natural Thassa's, which is, I mean, what you gonna do? You know what I'm saying? It's really easy to have that one might mana open to say, okay, yeah, I know you have 2 counter spells in your hand and we can't fight through your Thassa's, but you're not winning this turn. And you know what? Because of my sequencing, you're also gonna exile your library. So have fun. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely can hear you there. I think Angel's Grace is really good. Plus, I didn't think about this, but one of my guys, what's his name? He'll come to me in 1 second. Told me Angel's Grace is also great against your own Pact Negation. You can happily cast the Pact Negation and be like, all right, for sure, I'm gonna go ahead and I have Pact. You don't have mana to pay for it. Please don't worry about my card. It does Pact resolve, and then on your turn, go ahead and just Angel's Grace, and you just won't die. So I think it's a very
trick bind the delayed trigger.
That's true. Trick bind also does it. I feel like it. I will say this. I don't run both. I think running one or the other is necessary. Both if that's your play style. But I think the reason I like Angel's Grace is the 1 mana, and it is with Thassa's being the most common win con, especially in TDH, outside of the more fringe strategies that are doing other things that may be able to get around Angel Grace depending on what their strategy is. I think I personally I'm running Angel's Grace over it, but that's not to take away the weight of Trick Bind. I just wanted more 1 mana interaction because I am, in addition to running Mana Drain, I'm running Delay, and I'm actually running Muddle the Mixture. That's my personal, like, I love Muddle the Mixture because I love being able to have another tutor. Coming from the mono red sphere where you're getting no tutors to like, oh, I have a tutor on a counter spell? The fuck? All this mana too? Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? So that's my play style, but I do enjoy the Angel's Grace with all that being said. So
it is, I hear you, Trick Bind. It is my, like, again, there's a thesis to the deck. I want the game to go long. I am looking for pieces of interaction that stop me from losing, because I know if the game keeps going on, I'm going to get there. It's in the likeliness or the percentage points of a win for me as the game goes on increases. I'm not winning. This deck isn't winning turn 3. I'm not putting a win attempt on its stack turn 3. First thing I'm doing is I'm trying to get out a stack piece. I'm trying to get out a blind obedience. I'm trying to get out a monologue tax. I'm trying to get out a heuristic study or a smothering type. I'm trying to slow the game down so that enough where I can, okay, now I got 6 mana. Now I got 7 mana. Now I got 8 mana. Next thing you know, I'm casting an EMRAKUL. Like,
right, well, you can't. All right, with I gotta see this. I gotta see it. I know it's viable because you're playing. But with that being said, let's go ahead. We have EDH in the lobby. I'm gonna ask that he comes over and plays with us too. But with that being said, not to cut you off, but I gotta see this Marneus list in practice. You down for some games?
I'm down for some games.
Let's do it. All right.